Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the story of Venezuela under Nicolas Maduro, and we'll be using a historical narrative from the channel Academia Play as our guide. So, according to our source, this whole story really boils down to one simple idea. Nicolas Maduro wasn't picked to lead because he was a genius or a great strategist. He was chosen for one thing and one thing only: his absolute loyalty to his predecessor, Hugo Chavez. And that's the big question, right? How did it all play out? Well, it's a story of political chess, economic freefall, and a society that's been stretched to its breaking point. All right, so let's set the scene. The year is 2013. Hugo Chavez has just died, and his handpicked successor, Nicolas Maduro, a man who started his career as a bus driver, is now stepping into the presidency. His first big test, an election, right away. And the source describes the campaign as, well, just bizarre. Maduro even claimed that Chavez's spirit visited him in the form of a little bird to give him his blessing. When the votes were all counted, Maduro was named the winner by a razor-thin margin, less than 1.5%. The opposition, led by Henrique Capriles, immediately cried foul, saying the election was stolen. But the result stood. But that disputed election, that was really just the opening act. From there, the source lays out how the entire nation just spiraled into this massive, full-blown crisis, a total implosion of the economy and society itself. You see, Venezuela's entire economy was basically built on one thing: oil. And when those global oil prices took a nosedive, the country's engine didn't just cough and sputter, it completely seized up. This kicked off a period of insane scarcity. I mean, people waiting in endless lines for the most basic things became the new normal. And the human cost, well, you can measure it in the most brutal way imaginable. Things got so bad that the average Venezuelan lost about 11 kilograms. That's around 24 pounds due to hunger. The source notes that people grimly started calling it the Maduro diet. I mean, can you even imagine? This level of hardship kicked off one of the biggest mass migrations in modern history. We're talking about nearly 8 million people fleeing the country, making these incredibly dangerous journeys through places like the Andes Mountains or the Darien Gap, just desperate for a chance at a life somewhere else. So, you've got the country falling apart, right? But the source argues the regime wasn't focused on fixing things for the people. Nope. Their focus shifted to one thing, and one thing only: cementing their own power and crushing any opposition that got in their way. And this timeline here, it just lays it all out, step by step. In 2015, the opposition wins a huge victory. So what does the regime do? First, the Supreme Court basically guts the assembly's power. Then, Maduro just creates a whole new parallel assembly, filled with his own people, completely sidestepping the voters. So you end up with this totally surreal situation. You have two parliaments. The one people actually voted for, now totally powerless. And then you have this other one, handpicked by the regime, that holds all the cards. It was like a political checkmate. The one branch of government the opposition controlled was completely neutralized. And to really hammer home this sense of disconnect, the source points to this one moment. You've got mass starvation, blackouts across the country, and Maduro gets caught on a live broadcast thinking the camera's off, just casually pulling an empanada from his desk and eating it. But here's the thing. Even with all this pressure, all this repression, the Democratic opposition didn't just pack up and go home. According to the source, they found a way to regroup and push back. So after that 2018 election, which a lot of countries called a sham, the National Assembly makes this really bold move. They use the Constitution to declare Maduro a usurper, and they swear in their own leader, Juan Guaido, as the interim president. So for a while there, Venezuela basically had two presidents. Guaido had the backing of over 50 countries, but Maduro, well, he still had control of the military and the police. Fast forward to 2023, and the opposition decides, okay, we need to get on the same page. They organize their own primary election, completely independent from the state. And the result? It wasn't even close. Maria Corina Machado wins in a total landslide with over 92% of the vote. It was a massive, undeniable mandate from the people. So what do you do when you're faced with an opponent who is that popular? Well, if you're the regime, you do what you've always done. You just disqualify her. They banned her from holding public office. But she didn't back down. Instead, she threw all of her support behind a substitute candidate, a diplomat named Edmundo Gonzalez. Okay, now we need to hit pause for a second. This is super important. Right here, our source, Academia Play, makes a big shift. They move from talking about history to presenting a speculative, fictional idea of what might happen next. So what you're about to hear is not fact. It's their imagined version of a possible future. So, in this fictional scenario from the source, the 2024 election happens, and the opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez wins in a blowout. But before the official results are even announced, the regime allegedly steps in, stops the count, declares Maduro the winner anyway, and just unleashes on the protests that erupt. And they even give this crackdown a name in the video, Operation Tun Tun. They describe it as this brutal, house-by-house campaign of fear, where security forces go around marking the homes of opposition supporters with an X and arresting thousands of young people. And this is how their fictional story ends. Not with a vote, not with a democratic transition, but with this dramatic, outside intervention. In their telling, a re-elected Donald Trump greenlights a special forces operation in early 2026. And just like that, within hours, Nicolas Maduro is captured, and his rule comes to a sudden end. So when you take all of this, the real, documented history, and this fictionalized ending that the source presents, it leaves you with one just massive question. After years of collapse, after so much division, what on earth does it take for a nation to actually heal and start to rebuild from what the source calls the darkest period in its history?